Good evening, Cricut family South Africa. My name is Soraya. Today we are going to have a Cricut Pro class. If you can hear me and see me, please let me know in the chat. So I'm going to wait a few minutes for a few people to join and then we can get started with this exciting live class. Okie dokie, I think we've got quite a few people in the chat, so we can get started. So hi everybody, my name is Soraya Adolf. I'm a Cricut ambassador and today we are going to be doing a Cricut Pro class. So this class is proudly sponsored by Cricut SA and Logitech. And if you don't make it throughout the whole class, or if you miss anything, if you need a recap, you can always come back and watch the replays. The replays are available on the events page in the Facebook group, or you can also go to Cricut SA YouTube page and you can find all the replays that are available. Hi Max, hi Davida. I'm excited for this class today. All right. And as always, I do have the chat open, so I am trying to follow the chat. If you have any questions, please do leave them in the chat. Today is a pro class, so we're going to go a little bit faster than usual, or as fast as I can go. I'm from Durban, I'm a beach girl, we go a little slower. So I will try to go a little faster, but if there's anything you don't understand or anything you need clarified, I do know there are some beginners in this class as well. Please do ask. We have amazing admin in the chat that are ready to help you, and I can also see your questions, and I do come back and take your questions. So what are we making today? So today we are making a Father's Day desk organizer. Let's switch to our mat. So here it is. This is a, let's go closer, there you go. So this is a little desk organizer for dads. We are doing Father's Day here with Cricut SA. So one of the things we are going to be using today for our class is chipboard. So that is the base of our project. So you can see here, there's a nice little space for a pen and for sticky notes. And then we've got some like a little dad, what do you call this? Little design here, and the design's actually made with veneer wood. Back here, this really awesome patterned cardstock is a Cricut cardstock called Cricut Deluxe cardstock, but I will show you more of that while we are doing our cuts. So this is what we are making today. So we're not going to be cutting the veneer in this class. We have done a veneer class, which was my last class. So you can go back for tips on how to cut veneer if you want to know how to cut more of that. We are going to be cutting the chipboard and the deluxe cardstock. So let's get straight into it. So I will show you exactly what we need for this project. So for this project, what I'm going to be using is, let's zoom back out again. All right, so what I'll be using for this class, as I said before, this is the Cricut Deluxe paper. It's called Modern Graphics. I absolutely love this for Father's Day projects, but I'll show you more of the cardstock while our chipboard is cutting, because that does take some time. Here we have Heavy Chipboard. That is the star of the show today. That's what we're going to be learning how to use. It either comes in this package or you might actually see it in this package as well. Okay, let's start with the design. Hello Zelda, hello Layla, hello Yuli. I love seeing our favorites here in the chat. Okay, so let's jump on over to Design Space. So the project has been shared with you in the live. So if you want to follow along, the link is there for you. So this is it. It's in my profile. We are going to customize it. So this is what our design looks like. And I designed this from scratch. For pro classes, I like to kind of put my design space skills to the test, and I try to design things myself. So first what I did, okay, so let me show you what is included in here. So we have a veneer piece. This is a cardstock piece. This is a chipboard piece, another cardstock piece, and then a chipboard piece at the end. So this is what we are going to be working with today. So I'm going to hide that, and the first thing we're going to do is add a shape to the canvas. Hello Claudia, hello Lolly, welcome. Okay, so what I did before I got started, let's switch back to the mat. So what I did before I got started, I measured the sticky note. So this is just a normal sticky note pad. Actually, the sticky note came with measurements on it. So I think actually most sticky notes come with measurements on it, so you don't really need to measure it. And then I measured a space for the pen. So you need to know whatever you're going to be putting. So whatever spaces you want to have, you just need to measure your items. So if you wanted to do one for a notebook, you can do that as well, a notebook and a pen. And here, of course, if you wanted to change this and put a name or initial, you can definitely do that as well. Okay, so going back to our canvas, the size that I decided to go with was 13.5 by 17. Okay, and that's going to be our bottom layer, which is the chipboard. So I'm going to change it to this color. Now I am going to duplicate this, and I'm going to hide the original one because we're going to need it. Actually, let's name that chipboard. And then we're going to hide it because that's all we need from that piece. Our back piece of chipboard is just a solid piece. Now this piece here is the next piece of chipboard that we need, and for this one we are going to add design to this one. So how I did the design is I first added another one of these. Let's see, a square. Okay, yes, the round edge square. So for my sticky notes, which were 7.6, I decided to go with 8 by 8.25. Now, when I say I decided to go with, what I actually mean is I did tests, multiple tests, cutting out of cardstock until I decided exactly how big I wanted it to be. But here is the first piece that I was using, so I'm just going to move it over there so we can see what I did with it. So what I did here is I have my round edge square, and I added a semicircle to it. And for the semicircle, let's change it here instead of me trying to toggle it. Okay, so for the semicircle, I went with about 1.25 by 2.5. Okay, so that is my little piece where I wanted to kind of have a space where you can put your finger to get the sticky notes out. So let me change this color so we can see. Okay, so that is my two pieces. I grabbed them, aligned them center horizontally, and here I didn't align center, I just wanted it there, so I combined and welded that together. Okay, so that is my next piece. I'm going to, let's keep it purple, all the pieces that we're working with. Okay, so I'm going to move that over here and just leave that for now. Next, I needed the piece for my pen to go to. So for this, I'm going to show you how I did this. Probably not very traditional, but the reason I'm showing you this way is because when working in Design Space, especially when you are designing your own things, there's multiple ways that you can do something. Learning this way, I think, helps for when you want to do other projects, or if you need to edit other designs. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Wait, let me delete that. So for this, I went for a 1.4 by 15. So I'm going to change this to 1.4. Okay, let's zoom in. And I'm going to duplicate it. And this one, I'm going to flip it. All right, and then this is my square, just a normal square. And the square, I'm actually going to make the exact measurements that I want, which is 1.4 by 15.12 is what I went for. Okay, let's turn this purple so that we can see what we're working with. So before we go any further, you might be asking me, why didn't I just use perhaps this shape and just make it the measurements that I wanted? The reason for that is because it wouldn't quite look like how I want it to look like. So let's say 1.4 by 15.12. Oops, the other way around. 15.12 by 1.4. Okay, so you can see here it's not quite what I'm looking for. I could look through Design Space to find a shape like this, but I decided to just make it. So the square that I have here is the exact size that I want. Let's bring this to the front, and let's bring this to the front. So this purple square is the exact size that I want my shape to be. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to put this here. I'm going to grab this. So I'm grabbing the top pennant and the square, and I'm going to align top and align center horizontally. And I'm going to actually grab the bottom pennant, and I'm going to align bottom. So before I do that, I'm actually going to grab this pennant and this one and align center horizontally and group them. And now I'm actually going to align and group. So what I've done here by doing it this way, I've kind of made the shape that I want in the length that I want. It is a bit of a roundabout way to do it, but like I said, this way helps you to create or learn different functions. Let's say learn different functions. So now you can see here at the top, my square sticks out, which I don't want it. So I'm going to grab the square and I'm going to make it 13 centimeters. Now, because I grouped these pennants, they're going to stay exactly where they are. I'm going to grab them and I'm going to align these center. I'm going to combine and weld. And I've created the pen shape. So this is kind of a different way. You can see I'm a little bit off, which is fine. That's completely fine, but that's how I created the shape. So like I said, the reason I showed you this way is because when you're editing designs or if you're learning new designs, just understanding or thinking in a different way can help you create those projects that are a little bit different, or at least I think so. So that is the space for our pen. And the last thing I did is I searched for an image. So for this image, I initially was going to go for an initial, like a monogram initial. I thought that would be really cool. I do like this little skeleton. I thought of maybe going for initial or a monogram something, but then I decided to go for something like a dad card. So actually I went for a dad design. So the reason why I chose dad card, I'm going to show you now when I put this onto the canvas. So this is the one that I used, which is hashtag MCBDF945. Okay, so the reason why I chose this, let's put it onto the canvas. It was because I was being lazy. Alright, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So first of all, I don't need all of these extra pieces, so I'm actually going to delete this, and I'm going to delete this back piece here, and then I'm going to zoom us in so that we can see. Alright, so let's come back to here. Alright, so this is the reason why I chose a card to create my design. Again, I was being lazy, but mostly because with the Cricut cutout cards, a lot of the time what is left, or the way they are designed, your words will stay attached to your outer design. So imagine if this was a Cricut card, all the blue pieces would be your insert that you would see from the back, and this part here on the outside would actually be your card that's in the front. And so when I was designing this, I knew that I wanted the dad and the words to stay as they were, to actually stay attached so that I could see them in the veneer. And so that's why I decided to use a Cricut card. That way I wouldn't need to figure out things like attaching my letters together so that they stay, because I wanted the word dad to actually be wood, and not be cut out so that you see the blue piece, if that makes sense. So this is why I chose a card. It is an easier way to do things. So the first thing I did here, the first thing I did was I put a little bit of an offset on it. So because I'm using veneer and not cardstock. Hello Chantel, better late than never. We had never on Tuesday because I had no electricity. We only had electricity back again today. But anyway, so where was I? So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an offset. The reason I'm going to add an offset is just something I like to do. This is designed for cardstock. You can see the place where I'm going to put it. Let's go back to my original design. It's actually pretty small. It's about an 8 centimeter piece. Because this is quite a detailed design, what I'm going to do first is put an offset, and I'm going to put a very small offset. I'm going to go with I think I went for 0.15. Let me just make sure that was it. It was about a 0.15, yes. So you can even go up to 0.2. You can see here, if I go to 0.02, it's not really changing much on the design. It's just making the lines slightly thicker. Okay, so that's what I did first. And let me ungroup this. Oops, I still have my score lines from this. Oh, detach the score line. Okay, there you go. So this is what I did first, and now I'm going to, now let me go back to, let me do my original 0.15, and I'm going to show you why. Okay. And apply. And I'm going to delete the original because I don't need it. And I'm going to make this purple. So next what I did here is, because I just want the design, I just clicked on my offset, went to contour, contoured out the back piece, and here is my design. And then we did one more thing before we moved on. And before I show you what that is, I'm going to just place my design here. So for the dad, I went for about 8 by 5.3. Okay, so 8 and 5.3. Okay, so the reason I went for 8 is because these two are both 8, so I actually aligned them like that. So that's why I went for 8 with the dad design. But before we move on, so I'm going to need this square, so I'm just going to duplicate it, and I'm going to change it to this color, because that is going to be my cardstock, the back piece of my cardstock, and I'm going to hide that as well. Send it to the back. And here I have my design. So what I did here is I just eyeballed this. Oh, sorry. Oh, sherbet. Oh, goodness. Okay. Rewind. I'm so sorry about that. My design space seems to have... okay. I apologize, everyone. Let me go back. Okay, so where was I? All right. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so what I did was I added, oh my gosh, total blonde moment. I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, let's put this back on the canvas. I'm so sorry, you guys. I really am. I'm gonna go fast so that we can get through this, but I was, oh my goodness. All right, so this is the card, and I'm going to add it to the canvas view. This is what happens when you are running with no electricity. My electricity came back today and it's been a bit of a day, so I apologize. Let's keep going. Okay, so what I did was I deleted all the pieces of the card that I don't need, which is the score, which is all the other extra pieces. So this is why I used the card. All right, so the first thing I did was I added an offset to this, just because, like I said, this is built for cardstock, and I'm using veneer. So here I'm going to add an offset of 0.015. Thank you, Lolly, for getting my attention. All right, so we're going to apply the offset, and now I'm going to delete the original. Okay, so now that we've deleted the original, I'm going to change the color of this so that we can see a little better. And now I'm going to go to contour, and I'm going to contour out the big piece. And we are left with our design. And so for this, I decided to go with 8 by 5.3. All right. So the reason why I decided to go with 8, as I said earlier, is so that these two are the same width. So I'm just going to align these. And that is our basic design. Now, before we move on, we need some extra little pieces, and we're going to do something a little extra. So what I'm going to do first is I like the placement. So for the placement, you can group these. So I align them, group them, and then you can grab the pen and align vertically, and then you can grab all three of them, group, and align center. So that's how I aligned it. So I'm just going to ungroup. And so what we need is we need a piece first. So here I'm going to delete the dad, and these two, this piece on the side, this is going to be my other piece of chipboard. So I'm going to grab these here. I'm going to grab these, combine, weld, and then I'm going to slice them out of this. Okay, so this is my other piece of chipboard. Okay, so I'm just going to put it here, and I'm going to hide it. And then here we have, so that piece of chipboard, actually, I'm going to duplicate that as well, because that's also going to be a piece of cardstock. So the chipboard I'm going to hide, and here we have this, and that's going to be a piece of cardstock. And I'm going to hide that. And then here, this piece that we're going to be working on is the veneer. So before I do the veneer, what I want to show you is I'm going to grab these two, combine and weld. And then I'm going to cut them out of here so that it doesn't move. And I did this while I was designing it. I was actually designing it with another ambassador, and realized, like, I do this all the time and not many people do. So I thought it would be really cool to show you guys this. So I'm going to bring this one over here, and I'm going to slice the original one, slice and delete. All right. So for me, looking at some of these pieces like the dad, the little pieces inside the dad, when I'm cutting veneer, I decided that actually that might not be the greatest, because it is quite small. You can see that it is really small. So what I did instead, and I'm going to, let's bring that back. What I did instead is I came over here to this one, and I put an offset. So I duplicated this dad. So sometimes I duplicate by doing a 0 offset. Okay, and that's just going to give me another dad in the back of the purple one. So I'm going to hide the purple one, and we're going to use the black one. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to hide all contours. And I'm going to keep these three pieces here. Now you can see it's just the little cutouts that are in the dad that's left. And so if I leave everything where it is and I add a small offset onto this, which is about a 0.07, and I'm going to delete my original offset, and I'm going to grab this offset that I just did. So you can see that's the new offset, which is thicker pieces. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to grab my dad. I'm going to combine, weld. And now when I slice this out of here, and you compare the two, you'll see that I've just created a little bit more space for not so delicate cut. So that is going to give me a little bit or a better chance of not having too many small pieces when it comes to my cuts. So that's all I did, is create a little bit more space for me to work with when I'm cutting the veneer. So now let's bring all my little pieces back on here. So this is, let's go here. This is the chipboard that goes in the back. This is the cardstock that goes on top of it. This is the other piece of chipboard where you can see the design. This is the cardstock that goes on top of that. And then here, this is our veneer. Let's bring that to the front. Align, center. And this is basically how we created our desk organizer. If you wanted to, instead of the dad design like I've done, you can definitely put a monogram, you can put an initial, you can put a name, something more personalized. So we are ready to get cutting. So I'm just going to delete this and bring our original project back here. So from our original project, I have already cut out the back piece of chipboard, and I've cut out the back piece of deluxe cardstock and the veneer. So we're just going to focus on cutting the chipboard and a piece of the deluxe cardstock. So we're going to go to make it. Oh my goodness, that was crazy. Talking to myself on a Thursday. All right, let's go to the mat and remember to come back. All right, so to cut your chipboard, you need a strong grip mat. It's very important that you're using a good quality, very good sticky mat, because that is going to help you get the best cut. So we are going to cut the chipboard first because I have already calibrated my knife blade. You do need to calibrate your knife blade before you get started with cutting chipboard. I will show you at the end of the class how I did that. So this is my chipboard. I'm going to place it onto my mat. So tips when cutting chipboard. Let's bring this over here for a second. Okay, so first of all, like I said, you want a very sticky mat. Second of all, what you want to do is you want to take your brayer and you want to bray your chipboard on really well. So you can see here, I'm braying it on really well. Next, you want to take masking tape or painter's tape, whatever you call it, and tape the sides down. That just ensures that your piece doesn't move. Okay, this one's finished. Let's use this one. So I timed the first piece that I cut, and I'm going to show you the first piece while this piece is cutting. And it actually took 2.5 minutes for my first piece to cut. So it didn't take too long. Okay, I just tore my masking tape and I can't find it. Okay, there you go. So because my mat is quite new, I'm not going to go all around with my masking tape, or not every single section, which is fine. If your mat is not so new, do make sure that you really get your masking tape all around. Okay. And if you have a thicker masking tape like I do, just tear off a piece so that you don't go over the side of your mat. Okay, so because my mat is new, I'm not going completely all around, which is fine. And then I'm just going to braid this on again to make sure that it is down. Okay, now here you can see that my star wheels are moved over to the right, and that is because when my mat goes in, you don't want the star wheels, which are usually here, to roll over your chipboard. It will leave indents. So that's why the chipboard is 28 by 28, so that there is this gap here so that your star wheels don't run over them. Okay, let's go back to Design Space. There you go. And so what I'm going to do here, so this is my cardstock, this is my chipboard. I'm just going to move my chipboard a little down and over so that it's not completely on the edge. I'm going to click continue. And waiting for my machine to connect. Okay, the blue is on, so I know that it is connected. Okay, so I hope somebody was saving you while I was talking to myself. Okay, let's see. Let me just go back here. I'm going to cancel the cut, and I'm just going to quickly reload Design Space. Okay, here you go. Let me quickly reload Design Space. It seems to be halting. Good thing we saved our project. Okay, we're back up. Let's go back to Design Space. And the chipboard piece, again, I'm just going to move it over. Continue. There you go. Alright, so we're going to choose Heavy Chipboard. And you can see here it's giving me a warning to move my star wheels over, which I have already done. And coming here, I'm going to very carefully load my material. And go. Okay. So one thing to note when it comes to working with the chipboard, like I said, because we have quite a bit of a long cut time, I'm going to tell you a few things. So first of all, when using your knife blade, whatever material you're cutting, I make sure that I don't leave my machine. I make sure that I'm keeping an eye on the machine. What you also want to do is you also want to make sure that you calibrate your machine. So I'm going to show you the reason why you want to calibrate your machine. So this is the chipboard that I have already cut, and you can see in my last class when I made the letter, somebody asked me, how do you get such smooth cuts when it comes to your chipboard? So the reason why you might not be getting smooth cuts when it comes to your chipboard or whenever you're cutting wood might be because you're not calibrating your machine properly. What calibrating does is it makes sure that the knife blade cuts in exactly the same spot every pass. So for example, with your chipboard, my chipboard's saying that it needs 24 passes. So it needs to go over the material, over the same spot 24 times. If you don't calibrate properly, it might... Oh, do I have a piece? Okay, I have this piece here. So this is the piece that I used. If you don't calibrate properly, what might happen, and I'm going to use my True Control to show you. So your first cut might be like here, and then your second cut might be slightly next to it, and then your third cut back in the same space, back in the same space, and then slightly next to it. But what happens is, if it's not going to the same spot every time, it's going to lift up your wood, it's going to lift up your chipboard, and that's when you don't get the cleanest cuts. Depending on your knife blade, so my machine says at the moment it needs 24 passes for heavy chipboard, but I do know that my knife usually cuts my heavy chipboard out in about 11 passes. So I'm going to keep an eye on Design Space and make sure that I don't let it go for 24 passes, because it's going to cut through my mat for sure. If your knife blade is a little bit on the older side, then you might need 20 passes. But what I always do is, after about 12 passes, I pause my machine and I check the cuts, and I'll show you how I check the cuts. I have seen recently that there has been a few chipboard accidents, but yes, you definitely, with chipboard, with your basswood, you definitely have to check on your machine to make sure that when the cut's done, you unload your mat. Lolly made me, she made some really cute strong grip mat earrings once. It went straight through her strong grip mat. But I think that was, I always say I really love cutting wood and chipboard. Real talk. The veneer that I cut in the last class, which didn't cut all the way through, was probably the first time, I lie, it was the second time ever wood didn't work out for me. And it was kind of frustrating because I love cutting wood. The first time I cut basswood wasn't great. I was still a newbie. I barely cut vinyls. I don't really know why. I was cutting wood, and my pieces were just too small. So that's another thing to remember. With veneer, you can do really small cuts. With your chipboard, you wouldn't really be able to do this design in chipboard. So you want to keep your designs a little bit on the bigger and bolder side. So using the tips when it comes to working with chipboard or basswood, you do get really great cuts if you use the tips. Okay, so we are at cut number 9. You only make that mistakes once. Yes, you absolutely do. Speaking of that, Zelda, my chipboard I know will cut through perfectly by cut 13, but sometimes I actually unload it by cut 12 and then use my True Control knife if there's any little spots here and there to release them. And that's just because I don't want my mat to cut through. You can cut chipboard with your true control. You can actually cut it with the scissors as well. So you can see, while it is quite sturdy, you can cut it with the scissors. So I use chipboard as the backing for my basswood projects, for my veneer projects. It is quite strong, but like I said, you can cut it with the scissors. Now, why would I be cutting my chipboard with the scissors? I actually use these pieces of chipboard as foam squares when working with chipboard. Okay, so we're at cut 11. So I kind of use them as my foam squares when working with chipboard. So let me show you. So this is the R that we didn't get to finish, that I had to finish myself. So what I'm going to show you is, because there is a gap between the veneer and the chipboard, what I do is I cut small pieces of chipboard and put them underneath. So like under here, there's a piece. So that's what I meant by use them as foam squares, because they're exactly the piece of chipboard. That's the middle piece here. So that's how I use them as my foam squares. Okay, so we are at pass 12. One more pass. I actually didn't time how long it took this one, but the back piece took me 2.5 minutes to cut. So Lolly said heavy chipboard is compact cardstock. It's lots of layers put together, and that's why you can actually cut it. Okay, so we are almost finishing cut 13. So like I said, I don't usually go to 13. I usually stop around 11 or 12, but just to be cautious today. Okay, now I'm going to pause. So this is how I check if my chipboard, so I don't need the centerpiece here, so I just try to remove it. And you can see here that my centerpiece is cut through, so I know that my chipboard is cut through. Sometimes I don't remove the centerpiece, I just lift up from the side here and just see if this is released. If it has released, then I know that it's cut through, and now I can unload my mat. And while I'm going to be working with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my deluxe cardstock on to cut. Okay, and for the deluxe cardstock, I'm going to go with the blue. And so just like with the chipboard, just like with anything that we're cutting when it comes to cardstock, I'm just going to make sure that I braid it on nicely. Let me change this out. I'm going to use my fine point blade. I'm going to braid this on, and going back to Design Space, I'm going to choose deluxe paper. This is the one we're cutting, and I'm going to load. So if you've ever wondered why do us crafters always have our star wheels there, that's exactly the reason why. We just move on to the next. So all I'm doing now is removing this from the mat. put your mat cover on. And then with your cardstock, as always, also check that your cutter's gone through and unload. Okay, let me. So with your cardstock, what you want to make sure is that you are removing your cardstock from your mat and not pulling your cardstock off the mat, because that will create warped cardstock. Let's put my mat cover back on. Okie dokie. So we are actually done with this. Actually, I can leave it on. And here are our pieces. So with the deluxe cardstock, sometimes when I'm cutting the deluxe cardstock, I will cut it mirrored, but you'll see because of our design, I don't actually need to cut it mirrored because you don't see the edges of the cardstock. If you were to see the edges of the cardstock, then I would mirror it. So here's what I was talking about. So with the chipboard, you can tear it apart. And so if you don't calibrate your machine and it's cutting all in different pieces, you're going to have pieces that flake off, and that's when you get like messy chipboard. So here's our chipboard piece that we cut. If you do get a little bit of a nick here, what I like to do, some people like to cut their chipboard in mirrored. I don't. What I usually do, especially when I am painting my chipboard, is I just take something. If you had a nail file, that would also work, but all I'm doing is smoothing out the little edges here. Now for this, you won't really see it because it is the middle piece of my design, but just in case, you can smooth it out. So with the chipboard, I like to do that, especially if I'm painting it, so that you don't see any raised edges when you paint. And again, like with the veneer, if you have any pieces that don't cut out properly, you can just use your True Control to cut it out. So here is our pieces for our design. This is the veneer that I cut out. I used the cherry veneer. This is the first piece of chipboard that we're going to use, and for this one I did make sure that I just smoothed the edges because that one you are going to see. So all I'm doing is, if you do have any lifted up pieces, which I don't really on this one, just smooth it out with the edge of something. So to glue this down, what I'm going to be using is Jewel Bond. And I love using Jewel Bond. So for me, Jewel Bond is it. What I do like to do is I like to put my pieces. So I'm using this thinner nozzle, because today when I was filling up my Jewel Bond pen, which is the thicker nozzle, I broke it. And so now I'm using this, but I do know Jewel Bond, it's going to stick perfectly. So putting some glue on, and my biggest tip when gluing chipboard and cardstock for me is to place it, and this is why I like using Jewel Bond, is because it gives you a little bit of time to make sure you have your alignment right. And now my biggest tip is to take it and stick it underneath your mat. Please remind me that I did that because I forgot last time. And you create a little bit of a weight. I usually put my laptop on there and leave that there for about 5 minutes before I move on to the next piece. So here is the next one. So this is the blue, and I'm going to stick this on here. So usually I would first stick this chipboard onto this one, but I just want to give this one time to rest. So I'm actually going to put this one here so we don't go over time. How pretty is that? I love it. That's the one I used in the original. Let's bring the original here. So the original I did a little bit differently. It's got this awesome cardstock at the back. So just make sure you are doing the right pieces. I am talking, and since I was talking to myself earlier, let me make sure that I am doing the right thing. So put all your pieces together and work from there. Guys, I can't believe I was talking to myself. Anyway, so here I'm sticking down this cardstock. And you can paint here as well if you had the time and you wanted to paint. So with my Jewel Bond, or if I'm using chipboard, if I'm using basswood, what I always make sure that I do is put a weight on it, leave it overnight to dry. I do this with my faux leathers, genuine leathers, chipboard. I've never really had them coming loose. So this is what I was talking about with the deluxe cardstock, is that because they are the centerpieces, you're not really going to see them. I didn't need to mirror them when I cut them, but they are dual-sided, so sometimes it is a good idea to mirror them when you cut them. Okay, so this piece needs to go on here like this. I didn't really give this piece a chance to dry, but that's okay. And so now what we want to do is we want to put the glue on the piece that has the cutouts and not here, which is something I do often. And you can see I'm really not putting a lot. I don't when it comes to my chipboards. That's because I'm using Jewel Bond. If you are using a glue gun or something where you think you might need to make sure the adhesive is strong, then definitely in that case make sure you put enough glue. So I'm going to put that one under here for just a second while I show you the deluxe cardstock. So this is the deluxe cardstock that I was talking about. You can see here they are dual side and I absolutely love them. There's just so many great options. So this is the one that I've used. There's a little origami one. There's one that looks like a shirt, which is here, and all of them have a different color in the back so that you can match. And so this is why I said if you are cutting them, I often will mirror them, because if you nick this blue side, you are going to see that in the back. But since we are covering it, whoopsie, since we are covering it, there's no need. Okay, so there, and the last piece we have to glue on is the dad. So that is our beautiful piece of veneer. And here as well, we're going to put glue on the piece so that you can see on this piece here. And for this as well, I'm using Jewel Bond and making sure I'm getting all the pieces. So I absolutely love that you guys did those veneer letters. I love them. I hope that you will feel a little bit more confident working with chipboard than you were before, and perhaps we'll make something like this desk organizer. I made a beautiful chipboard I love to use for nursery gifts. Let me hold this, it'll be easier for me. So I love using chipboard for nursery gifts, like nursery room gifts. I covered one in yarn for my friend's daughter and put some cardstock flowers and felt flowers on it. It was so pretty. So if you haven't tried chipboard before, do give it a try. as long as you keep an eye on your machine while it's cutting, you will get great cuts, and you have a sharp knife blade as well. Okay, so I've put some glue on here, and very carefully going to align this, making sure. Okay, so for this piece you definitely don't want to slide, which I just did, so that your glue doesn't come out, but if it does, grab your weeding tool and just scoop it up. You won't actually notice at all that it's come up, which I'm doing right here. If you get that glue in before it dries, you won't see any glue marks once it's dry. Okay, so very delicately here. Alright, so that is our little holder. I am going to take an extra second to pop it under here for a second and let it dry, and while that is drying just for a second, I'm going to pop back onto Design Space. As promised, I'm going to show you how to calibrate your machine. Okay, so cancel the cut, yes. So my project is available for you if you would like to do it. So go to your name, click on it, you're going to click Settings, you're going to click on Machine, and here you're going to Calibrate. Click on Knife Blade, Continue, and follow the prompts. So that is pretty much how you calibrate your machine. The reason I don't do it in this class because I have to get right up into the machine to make sure that I'm calibrating it properly, and I don't always do a good job of that. So here is our project that we just made. This one I absolutely love how it turned out. Here's the spot for our little sticky note, and where's our pen? It does use glitter pens too, right? I'm sure they do. So there's a spot for a pen, but I did make the slot big enough if you had like a mechanical pen or something like that, that would work. So this is our project. I hope you enjoyed it. Can you cut this with your Joy Extra? So no, I should have mentioned this earlier. So your knife blade, this is your knife blade. You can only use the knife blade with your Maker machines. So your Maker 3 and the new Maker 4, this is what you are going to use the knife blade with. I'm also going to very quickly show you there is a difference between these two. If you look at the knife blade, and the reason why you have to calibrate is because it has something called the drive housing. So you can see here, there's no button up here. This is attached. You can swap out the blade. You can change the blade when it gets blunt, but the knife blade comes like this. This, in my other hand, is the quick swap housing. The quick swap housing, this is also only the Maker series, but you can see here there's a button. If I press the button, I can remove this. This is the scoring wheel. You can replace the scoring wheel with the engraving tip, the debossing tool, engraving, debossing, perforation. There's a bunch of different tools that you can swap out here, but do note there is a difference between the knife blade, which comes as a unit, and the quick swap housing. Okay, so I hope that cleared it up for you. This is our project. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm so sorry for talking to myself for some time, and I will see you in our next class.